Hello again, and welcome to Chat, Grapple and Cheap Pops with me, JB, and Chris Dredd.
Yes. Hello, people. Thanks for joining us again.
Exactly that. Thank you for anyone that watched episodes 1 and 2. Thank you for joining us again. It's not been a great week for wrestling, has it?
Not at all.
We lost Shad Gaspard this week. He's part of Crime Time in WWE in like the late 2000s. Really good big man. He died a hero. He obviously was being swept away at sea with his son, and he made sure that the emergency services went straight to his son and didn't end up coming for him. I mean, really sad for everyone involved. It's not been a good one. And it was only announced today. Today's the 23rd of May.
Yeah.
For anyone wondering, it's the 23rd of May, and we got the news this morning that we also lost Hana Kimura from Stardom. She was 22. We don't know a lot about this one. From what we have gathered, it is suicide. And we can't be sure, but
no,
there was a lot of trolling and online bullying going on with this.
Something happened. She was on a show, a Netflix show, like a reality show, and something happened on there where a guy did something to her wrestling gear and it ended up shrinking and ruining it, and then she went off on him or something, and then she was getting bullied and that on that. But I mean, this goes to the wider issue of online bullying. And let me tell you something, dude. Like, we like to be positive on this show, on this podcast, all right? We don't like to go on about negative stuff. We don't like to bitch and moan, and we don't like to get involved in any kind of online beefs that are going on, because I see a lot of them online. I see like certain personalities clashing with other personalities, and you do see a lot of, dogpiling, they call it, where, one person gets attacked and then everyone keeps diving on and diving on and diving on. And we see that all these things happen all the time. We had it with the reality stars in this country, with that, what's that one where they're on the beach and all that, in the UK, where basically,
I'm not big on reality TV.
Yeah, it's like a reality TV show where they've had 2 people commit suicide from that.
That's right. Yeah.
And Caroline Flack as well took her own life due to possible online bullying and other issues that were going on in her life. So, we've got all of this stuff that happens in the online community. And I'll tell you what, I see a lot with the wrestling community, with the wrestling fans, the smart marks, the people that blog and podcast and make videos and stuff about the wrestling business, and it's sad to see. And she was 22, bro. 22 years old. Very sad, man.
I mean, this goes without saying, but we could all be a lot nicer to each other,
100%.
especially on these places like Twitter. It's an absolute mess.
You're not going to eliminate bullying, to be honest, because it's always going to go on, because you're always going to get the type of characters that are bullies. You're always going to get that. And the fact that it's online and they can't get a slap in the mouth and they can just do this stuff kind of anonymously.
Yeah, it comes down to the keyboard warriors and stuff like that. And
yeah,
again, we can all be nicer to each other, like especially on these forums like Twitter and that. And we will be positive about almost everything. We won't be positive about bullying and trolling. If you are doing that, you are a chump. You are a waste of space. And, people need to pack it in.
They need to pack it the fuck in. Because, and just to let you know, me and Jay on the Twitter, we don't get involved in none of that. We are just doing what we're doing, but we do see, you see a lot of it, especially on Twitter. It can be extremely toxic. And all them people that are doing it, you can't get a smack in the mouth, but you need a cyber slap in the mouth, So, like I say, this story is really sad for me. Her age and the whole situation. Like you said, mate, we don't really know a lot about it, but what we do know is she is passed away, and it's very sad.
I've said already, it's May 23rd. It's another, like, it's a black eye for wrestling again.
Indeed.
Because it's 1999. It is the anniversary of Owen Hart dying in the ring, of all places. I've already thought in my head that we'll probably have a whole episode dedicated to Owen at some point.
Yeah.
You know, we both have really fond memories of him, including in today's episode.
Yeah.
And I can only encourage people to watch the Vice documentary, Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
I watched it this week.
Yeah, I did too.
Chris has seen it this week. Go watch it. You know, watch some of your favourite matches of Owen. You know, remember him well. And yeah, we'll pick up on Owen soon.
But he does get extremely honourable mentions in this one today. And
Very, very much.
Owen, I hold a place dear in my heart for you, my man. You know, like I say, absolute fantastic in the ring. In real life, absolute lovely guy. Anyone that speaks about him speaks extremely positively of him. You know, and yeah,
he's a prankster.
A prankster, you know,
prankster.
Absolutely fantastic character. So, and he does get honourable mentions in the event that we're doing today.
It does indeed. Firstly, now that we've had to talk about these things that have come up, you know, in the wrestling world this week. We are going to move forward and have some fun. And firstly, by checking out these sweet hoodies.
Yeah.
Now, my good close personal friend at treeoflifeframing.com has managed to sort out me and Chris with these sweet hoodies.
Yeah, dude. I'm not wearing mine today because I bought a new T-shirt which I wanted to wear. Got it from Asda, aka Walmart, for an extremely cheap price of £5 English. And it is a Royal Rumble T-shirt with a few of the old school guys on there. The fact that it has, you know, Yoko, you know, Flair, few of the guys, £5, mate. But yes, it doesn't even come close to the Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast hoodies by the lovely people at www.treeoflifeframing.com.
Treeoflifeframing.com. You know, give them a shout. If there's any interest in these hoodies, there's only 2 right now.
That's right.
There's only 2. They are special edition. But if there's any interest, anyone wants one, give them a shout and see what we can do.
And they do frame anything wrestling. They frame figures, posters, wrestling cards, the lot. So yeah, get on to those guys there. And thank you for the hoodies.
Yeah, indeed. We'll start WrestleMania 11.
Yes, dude.
It's 1995.
Can I just start by saying, right? A lot of people don't rate this pay-per-view very highly. They don't think it was a very good pay-per-view at all. But me personally, it's one of my absolute favourites. Absolute favourites. Because my all-time greatest tag team, or one of them, let's not say the best, but one of the all-time greatest tag teams ever to grace the ring was actually created on this night. And also Bam Bam Bigelow with an absolute great performance.
Oh, it's Bam Bam's biggest night, for sure.
Absolutely.
But first, I have a bone to pick with Vince McMahon.
Oh, this week, JB's got a bone to pick with Vinnie Mac, baby.
My turn.
Okay.
Vince, WWE, anyone involved with the network, you screwed me this week.
And actually, I came out on top this week, watching the VHS.
I wish I watched the VHS because they've cut bits off.
They have.
And I'm sure we'll get to those points. But yeah, they've cut bits off. I didn't get the free-for-all. That's something we need to talk about with the WWE. They need to put on the free-for-alls. Absolutely. You know, they've always got something fun on there, something random.
Mm-hmm.
Put them on. We need to see them.
The more Todd Pettengill, the better, baby. Toddy P. Don't get me started on the Pettengill, baby. The guy was an absolute star.
But Vince, you've messed me around here, and I'm not happy. I'm definitely not happy with this.
And you don't want to piss off JB, son. Yeah.
You know, just like Uncle Ted with last week. This isn't cool. you know, and we'll get to the production issues of the whole show, but not impressed. But I digress.
So there's no free-for-all for the network viewer,
No.
but there is a free-for-all on the VHS.
You're gonna have to take this one run with it, Chris, because I didn't see it.
Well, should we? So we're getting into it. WrestleMania 11.
We'll start with a free for all. You saw it first.
Start with a free-for-all. Okay, so Todd Pettengill. Let's just go straight in and just say Todd Pettengill for me was one of the greatest people that you would see in WWF television. To be honest with you, I thought his energy was fantastic. He brought that legitimacy of like a sporting event. He was always very upbeat and fun. All through WrestleMania 11, he pops up in little places during the actual pay-per-view. Like he'll be sitting with LT's, you know, friends and colleagues and whatnot that was there. Also, I'd like to make an apology. When we were talking about Bam Bam Bigelow and LT in one of the previous episodes, I kept calling him LV. And I don't know why. LV was Coolio's Gangster's Paradise guy. So it definitely wasn't LV, but it's LT, Lawrence Taylor. So I apologise for that before people catch me out and say, oh, he called him LV.
That's
not
all
LT.
right.
But yeah, I mean, Todd Pettengill, where can you can't say a bad word about the guy. I thought he's absolutely fantastic.
My best memories of Todd are from WWF Mania.
From Mania, and yes, yeah. One thing that is imprinted in my memory as a young'un, watching Mania on Sky One, I believe it was on.
And I wish they'd put those on the network too.
Is there no Manias on there? No.
No Mania.
Because I mean, what was Mania? Was it? It was just like a. I mean, it wasn't like a Superstars or anything like that. Was it just literally like a compilation of this is what's happened this week?
Yeah, I think it was just a highlight show, but it had like lots of weird skits and Todd running around like a madman in the production room.
And he was fantastic.
Very hype, very.
It was great, you know. On the free-for-alls, he did quite a few of them. I've got quite a lot of VHSs, if I haven't said already. And on a lot of the VHSs, you get the free-for-alls, and he was brilliant. You know, he would hype the TV crowd. He would hype the crowd in the arena. You know, he was absolutely fantastic. You know, he didn't mess anything up. You know, he didn't really stutter his words or anything like that.
He was very good.
Absolutely great live broadcaster. And yeah, Todd Pettengill, where are you, man? Like, that is one person.
Todd hosted an episode of The Bump, I think, on the network.
No.
Just this week.
Dude, they've been hiding
I'm pretty sure my mind's not playing tricks on me, but Todd hosted an episode of The Bump on the WWE network. I'm pretty sure it was just this week or last week. So he's still around.
I'm glad he's still around, and if we can get him on this podcast, that is one guy I would love to interview. Todd Pettengill, man. You know, love the guy, absolutely love the guy. So, yeah, that's where we start with the free for all. Todd Pettengill, just being absolutely fantastic. You had the other woman, Stephanie Wyand, who appears regularly during the pay-per-view here and there and doing interviews and whatnot. And you also had Gorilla Monsoon. You know, he was out. There was a great bit in the free-for-all where you've got Gorilla Monsoon like leaning up against the door of the All-Pro team, and it's like making out they're going absolutely crazy in there, and the door's like slamming, and he's like holding the door closed. It was fantastic. And one line I
haven't seen any of this.
Oh, it was brilliant. And then one line, Todd Pettengill says to him, "Oh, Gorilla, that's a fantastic jacket. Where'd you get that jacket from?" He goes, "Oh, it's beyond your means, I can tell you that." It was just, the banter was just fantastic. Like, Todd Pettengill, oh, yes, dude, yes. So, yeah, free for all, Todd Pettengill, Gorilla Monsoon, Stephanie Wyand. They basically just, they did like America the Beautiful, because this was WrestleMania 11. So after a decade,
this is the start of the show. Like I've got this bit.
So you know, a decade of WrestleMania's gone by. So they had like a little showing of all the people that sung, all the celebrities and famous people, whatever, that sung America the Beautiful over the years. talking about number 56, Lawrence Taylor, the media circus surrounding it. It showed you what happened at Royal Rumble 95, where the shove from Bam Bam Bigelow just setting up the, and it also showed the Times Square workout. So they had like a thing in Times Square where they had a ring there, and then you had Bam Bam Bigelow and Lawrence Taylor. And like I say, it will be a common thread going through this. Lawrence Taylor just stiffing the shit out of Bam Bam Bigelow. But as you rightly pointed out, you couldn't really have LT pulling punches or pulling shots because it probably would have showed too much light.
He's green.
Yeah,
That's
and it would have been terrible. But the stiffness factor, this shot that he catches him, Bam Bam, with this shot at the Times Square workout. It was just so so stiff. It was just it was hurting my head watching it. So then, they showed you, then you had the gorilla bit where I'm here outside the All Pro team's dressing room and they're going crazy in there. They're really up for it, and the door's whacking and he's holding the door and it's rattling and everything. Really good stuff. You also had a Bob Backlund and Nicholas Turturro vignette. NYPD Blue, where you had they're making me laugh, and I'm just thinking about it. Is Bob Backlund sitting like he's being interviewed by the police, and he's like just ranting and pointing and that, and then it cuts away to Nicholas Turturro, and then a shot of Bob Backlund just with no one in front of him, just going crazy, just like it was absolute gold, fantastic, and that one there is on the free for all. What did we have? It showed you Diesel's 8-second win over Bob Backlund for the title.
They showed the whole thing.
What's that?
Did they show all 8 seconds?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and obviously because that was the setup. So you had Diesel, who was the champion. He'd beaten Bob Backlund in 8 seconds, and you had Shawn Michaels, who had gone from number 1 to number 30 in the Royal Rumble 1995. There was a few things set up, obviously, from the Royal Rumble, as they even do now. Or do they have even Royal Rumbles anymore?
They do.
They do have them, because I'm very out of touch with the events they've cut.
The Rumble this year was excellent.
Was it good?
In my opinion, yeah.
I mean, in the recent ones, I thought Kofi Kingston had some really great innovative stuff that he did over the last 5 or so years, maybe even longer than that, when he was there and he was on the chair, and he was like hopping to get back in the ring and stuff. But Shawn Michaels also did fantastic stuff in Rumbles, and this one, Rumble 95, which set up this because of, as you guys probably know, whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a shot at the title at WrestleMania. So Shawn Michaels went number 1 to number 30, and it was when he got thrown out and the 2 feet have to hit the floor and only one of them hit the floor. I believe it was him and Bulldog that was last in.
It should have been Bulldog's year, let's be honest.
It should have been Bulldog's year, but it wasn't. This was set up.
We're biased.
But I mean, don't get it twisted. Don't take anything away from Shawn. To go from number 1 to number 30 in the Royal Rumble, it was the first time it had ever been done. It was a fantastic achievement. So it basically was just setting that up, and that was really the free for all.
Was there no match on there?
What's that?
Was there no match on the free for all?
No dark match. No match. I believe there was quite a few dark matches actually before this, but there's none on the VHS, unfortunately. So there you have it. Todd Pettengill just being an absolute superstar. Shout out to Toddy P. We will tag him on Twitter if he's on Twitter, and tag him in this because it was one of his finest moments, the free for all and WrestleMania 11. He made the event really for me as well. Fantastic.
You'll notice on the VHS screen in front of you, awesome celebrity guests, and we can reel them off really quickly because they're all right. Then they're celebrity
think about
guests.
this: for 1995, they were bloody top notch, mate. Top notch.
What, including Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Dude, Home Improvement, right? I've got it in my notes. When you go back and watch this, listen to the pop that kid gets when he comes out. Listen to the
Okay,
pop. Dude, he gets the it's not he gets the pop, dude.
we have Pamela Anderson from Baywatch and what have you.
Yep.
Nicholas Tatura was already mentioned from
NYPD Blue.
NYPD Blue. I also find him brilliant as a comedy actor.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Pretty good.
Salt and Pepper, that's a whole big issue for me because I don't see them on my network version. Jenny McCarthy from MTV at the time.
She was on MTV at the time.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and this is where I might lose Chris for a minute. The All Pro team get shown, and it's the first glimpse that we get in pro wrestling of Steve Mongo McMichael. Fantastic.
Can we say, right? We on this podcast, we trying to alternate it between, WWF, WCW. We'll be chucking some ECWs and some probably Japanese bits and bobs and whatever in, some TNA stuff possibly. But we're trying to alternate.
Don't forget FWA.
Let's not forget FWA. Let's not forget
We'll be chucking in
Frontier
some FWA.
Wrestling Alliance, indeed. So, we're trying to alternate it. So, we have got, after this event, this WrestleMania 11, we have got a WCW event, which does feature Mongo McMichael. So, I am not a fan of Mongo McMichael, and I believe, so when was this?
This is 1995.
April the 2nd, 1995, WrestleMania 11. Now, he hadn't been on Nitro yet, had he?
No.
Because Nitro didn't start till May.
September.
Was it September?
Yeah, September
Right,
95.
so I blame WrestleMania 11 and LT for getting Mongo the taste for being in the ring, baby doll. I blame them fully for that because he's obviously got involved in this and the whole hoo-ha. Possibly would have been signed for Nitro already by then.
In the interest of staying positive, I'm not going to be completely defensive of Mongo, but I feel like I have some reasons as to why he was in such a prominent spot in WCW, but that's not the show we're talking about right now. We're talking about WWF WrestleMania 11, and Mongo is not the star of this show.
He is definitely not.
Taylor, and we'll get to it. America the Beautiful was sung. Now it seemed like there were some production issues here already.
Yeah.
And this is a bit of a strong feature early on in the show. They do get better, and they do they don't miss as much stuff. But it sounded like something was off when this was going on, and something wasn't quite right.
Yeah, there was, because they at one point they go to Nicholas Tatura and he's talking, but there's no mic, no sound coming out.
Yeah, that happens as well, and
it happens with the 1, 2, 3 Kid also slightly.
I think that our commentators for the evening, Vince and Jerry Lawler, Jerry the King. Jerry the King's a decent heel commentator at this time.
He had some very good quips in this as well.
Very
WrestleMania 11.
If I'm going to say anything, it feels it's like having like the Diet Coke version of, Bobby the Brain, because Bobby has shipped off to WCW, and they needed someone quick-witted, which the King is. He's very quick-witted. He's very smart, very clever.
He was good. He was really good.
And yeah, King calls it the greatest spectacle in sports entertainment, and it's an event fit for a king.
That's right. But I think that was it was his go-to line in many a show after this as well. It's an event fit for a king. And I just like the way he calls Vince McMahon all the time. He just goes, "It's bigger than that, McMahon." Like he's selling that Vince is just a commentator. Because I don't know how many people at this time I mean, they probably knew that Vince was in charge, but his
Well, I think
on-screen.
because of the lawsuit and that, and the steroid trial and stuff, like they
Correct.
knew he was in charge. But a casual fan that might, like kids wouldn't have known,
Yeah,
he was the boss.
that's right.
But yeah, it's in like the means and the realms of positivity. This first match is rough.
Oh, it's rough. Can we set a little scene here as well? Because what is the first match, dude? Sorry.
First match, we have the Allied Powers:
Yes.
British Bulldog, David Boy Smith, and Lex Luger. Luger, total package, had a really good main event run in '93. Big push, the Lex Express, all of that. Fell off in '94, didn't get that title win that he might have been promised. Who would know? At one point, I'm sure he was probably expected to beat Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Never happened. Brett took the belt instead. Luger never turned heel. I'm sure people were expecting that as well.
Didn't
And
he slightly turn heel when he had like the metal implant thing in his arm and he was doing heely things, whacking people
I think
with
that
it?
was before he'd even turned, before he
Right.
became the All-American Lex Luger.
Yeah, yeah.
They're taking on the Blue Brothers from the Appalachian Mountains.
Who? Yeah, the Harris brothers. Yeah.
Jacob and Eli, yeah,
Jacob
at
and
this
Eli
point.
Blue. But what I felt about this, where they had the Allied powers, anyone who watches episode 2 of our podcast, the one that came before this, we did Beach Blast 93, and it was Sting and Luger, and it was very, very similar what they did with Bulldog and Luger in this thing, where they had him as like they looked very like sorry, with the Bulldog and Sting in '93, where they had the Briton and the American, and then they did the same thing with Luger and Davey Boy with the Allied powers.
It didn't
And
work.
and they kept referencing the Second World War in this as well. They're saying about Normandy and all this kind of
Harsh,
stuff.
yeah.
So it was yeah. I mean, we like to be positive, but this, like you say, this match was was rough, man. It was
The
rough.
Blue Brothers, they are brought to the ring by Uncle Zeb,
Uncle
Dirty
Zebekiah.
Dutch himself.
Yep, yep.
I got a lot of time for Dutch Mantel. I think he's great
I
on the
have.
mic. He's fantastic as a manager. I really do rate him. I think he's obviously hamstrung with the Blue Brothers, who were good workers, solid workers, but I mean the gimmick isn't up to much.
They were a bit green in this though as well.
Yeah.
The twins weren't taking moves very well in this.
Another quick reference. Luger would be gone by September.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's phoning this one in tonight. He is not that bothered, and yeah, he would be heading for richer plains with Ted Turner with WCW. He would turn up on the first Nitro, and basically fix his career.
I mean, I'm not a fan of Luger, to be honest.
I am. I'll be honest.
Do you like him? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was never a fan of Luger. I was disappointed in. I thought he could be a better heel when he first came into WCW. The whole thing with that, where he was friends with Sting, because he actually in real life was really good friends with Sting. They owned a gym together. So they're quite good buddies and that. I never warmed to him. I just, I do remember the when the wrestling WWF had the bodybuilding federation, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember a promo where you had Vince McMahon interviewing Lex Luger. I think it was on Superstars or something. And Luger's there in like them bodybuilding tops with the V-neck and then he's drinking milk and stuff. And then Vince says to him, "I'll take
He does
your
that at
shirt off."
WrestleMania 8 as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Another last point on Luger in WCW is that he reinvents his career by shifting companies, which is something you could do at that point. And I mean, for me, in '97, he's one of the top guys in WCW. Sting's not wrestling. You know, the next big name is Luger. DDP's not quite there. You know, Luger even gets a quick world title run, you know. But this isn't Nitro. This is WrestleMania 11.
Yeah.
And we've got a dodgy, clumsy double power slam spot right out of the gate.
Straight away. Yeah.
It doesn't go well. It doesn't it looks like it might be Luger's fault, which doesn't help things. But it's, you know, it looks a little bit, you know, clumsy. And something I noted, Bulldog suplex still gets a great reaction.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the power thing, it just clicks with the fans. Everyone seems to love it. And, you know, also very rare Dynamite Kid reference.
Yes.
I didn't think they were talking about him at all at this point.
No, you find that all through this pay-per-view, Jerry the King Lawler actually references quite a few things from way back.
Yeah.
He later talks about the special guest referee. We won't spoil it yet, but he talks about the special guest referee in the Bret Hart Backlund match, and he talks about WrestleMania 8 and stuff like that. And he's the one that oh no, I think it's Vinnie Mac that brings it up. He goes, oh, you know, Davey Boy has been tag team champions once before with the Dynamite Kid.
I was surprised to hear it.
Yeah, it's nice to hear it, but it's because they're going to be pushing this team, or I think they thought they were going to be pushing this team, because Vince actually makes a comment at the end of this match to do with the Allied powers, and it just made me laugh knowing that basically by September the 4th, Luger would be gone. Because if you actually remember, he was on an episode. He was on WWF TV, and possibly that same night or the next night he was on.
I think it was the next night. Yeah, I think the WWF always had some sort of word from Luger that he was going to sign the contracts, and he never did.
Yeah, because was it not the same night? Because didn't they show Nitro on
Rick
a Monday?
Rick Rude was the same night in late '97.
Right, it was Rude, not Luger. But yeah, it was. It, like I say, I always thought it was either the same night or the next night. He was 1 minute he's on WWF TV. That's why it was such a shock for when he turned up at the Mall of America for that first Nitro, and it just makes me laugh. Vince McMahon, he says, "All right, sorry, yeah, go on to this, and then I'll tell you what Vince McMahon says at the end of this match."
Well, I mean, again, there's not much to pick up on in this match, apart from that Luger looks the smallest he has in years. Luger, I've got here, Luger looks very trim, and it's not something I will say about most men, you know, but Luger looks trim here. He looks, you know, he's not the Luger that turned up in 1992. Luger in 1992 is jacked. He's, you know, WBF style.
Yeah.
And I end up going straight onto the awkward finish, because it's not a big time match. It's nothing that, you know, nothing to write home about.
There's
it's an awkward sunset flip.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of switcheroonies by the Blue Twins, the Jacob and Eli. There's a couple of swapperoonies where one of them rolls in when he should have been out, or whatever. But yeah, it wasn't a strong finish at all.
It's an awkward sunset flip. I didn't really see the tag, which I think is down to production more than anything.
Yeah.
And the Allied powers get the win, and then, you know, you get what Vince says. Yeah,
Vince says something to the words of, "There'll be a team for a long, long time." He says, "We look to see more from this fantastic team, and they look like they're going to be a team for a long, long time." And then, you know, months later, kaput, gone, finished.
There's a weird thing they try it all night with Jim Ross in the aisle after every match, trying to catch up with someone.
Yeah.
And he catches up with Zeb at this point, Uncle Zeb.
Yeah.
And Dutch just, you know, he rambles. You know, it's not it's very, it's very, it's clunky. This word I've got.
It should have been better because what he was saying was great if you caught it. Because was this not the debut of Jacob and Eli? Had they been on TV before?
I would hope they'd have been on telly before.
They
I'm
would have
not
been. And he
not
said,
caught up with my
he said,
95
oh,
stuff.
I knew when we come down to the big city, we'd get stiffed over. So selling that they'd come, coming from there to the
Well,
big city.
they are in Hartford, Connecticut, which is hometown for Vince and his crew.
Titan Towers.
Yeah, it's Connecticut is their home base and
Also the
always
home
has
of
been.
Bob Backlund. Also.
True. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to Bob. It's after this point we have the sound issues with Nicholas Turturro, and we get that Vince chuckle afterwards because he knows, like, it's obviously an annoyed Vince chuckle. He's clearly annoyed that they can't hear them.
Do you? Sorry, mate. So, do you get the Coliseum video exclusive interviews with Monsoon on this one?
No, I don't. You'll need to. If I go past it, you need to bring me back.
Because this is after the Allied Powers versus Jacob and Eli. The Nicholas Turturro thing happens, but then on my video, it cuts to Monsoon with a mic with Double J and the Road Dogg, and there's there's a gold little interview there where Jeff Jarrett's midway through talking, he clicks his glasses and they start flashing, and it's ain't that great, it's just fantastic. So guys, like I say, you can watch it on the network, but you can still pick up these VHSs. You can still pick them up for a few quid. There's groups on Facebook. There's a group on Facebook that I'm a member of, the VHS collectors, and you can pick stuff up fairly cheaply. And you've got all the coins. Coliseum, Coliseum video exclusives.
Coins, not notes.
What's that?
You can pick them up for coins, not notes.
Yeah, man, you can pick them up. The most you'll pay with postage and packaging is 5 or 6 quid for a video. But yeah, you get all the Coliseum video exclusives, which would be the free-for-all and the little interviews in between. So yeah, we've got a Monsoon interview with Double J and the Road Dogg, which was pretty good because it was following up then their match, the next match.
Before they get into the ring, Jerry Lawler compares the NFL to the post office.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, kicking a parcel around for X amount of time, and then you get the laugh from Vinnie Mac as well.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest sort of comparisons I've ever heard. But we get into the Intercontinental title match. It's Double J, Jeff Jarrett, ain't he great, with the roadie.
Yep.
With the roadie against Razor Ramon, who's with the 1-2-3 Kid.
Chico.
I've got to bring up Double J's outfit at this point.
Amazing.
It's a beauty. If anyone's ever thought of doing a Halloween or cosplay of Jeff Jarrett at this time, we need to see it. Send it to us on Twitter at Grapple Pops. This is the greatest outfit of the night.
It's fantastic. But you know what? I liked when I was growing up. I mean, at this time I was 13 years old watching WrestleMania 11. So, I really like Double J, Jeff Jarrett. But when you hear stories of, and funnily enough, he was very good friends with Owen Hart, close friends with him, and that was a bit hard to take, seeing his promo on the Over the Edge pay-per-view that Owen passed away. But I really liked Jeff Jarrett growing up, but apparently he was a bit of a dick because he was a very wealthy man already, because his dad was extremely wealthy. Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't have any very nice things to say about Double J, Jeff Jarrett. There's a story where Stone Cold Steve Austin says that when he was working in the territory that Jeff's dad used to run, he was looking at his paycheck one week, and it was just a disgustingly low amount. I mean, Stone Cold says that he had to eat raw potatoes when he was working down there.
This is the USWA, isn't it? With
USWA,
Jerry
which
Lawler as well had a
that's
big
correct.
deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of USWA videos, and one of them's got Jeff Jarrett on the front of that. But yeah, there's a story Stone Cold Steve Austin tells about where he was looking at his payslip, and Jeff Jarrett comes up behind him, slaps him on the back, and says, "You can stare at it as much as you like, boy. You ain't gonna get no bigger." Yeah, that's Jeff Jarrett, and Stone Cold never forgot him, forgot that, and he never wanted to work with him.
Well, Stone Cold Steve Austin would eventually refuse to work a program with Jeff Jarrett.
Yep.
Possibly 98.
Yeah.
I think it is 98, maybe even 99. Maybe that was part of it.
I think it is part of it. Yeah. And he said he couldn't draw a dime. Was the other part of it. But as you say, at this time, Jeff Jarrett obviously had the money, so he could. I mean, he was Intercontinental Champion at this point anyway.
Yeah, he's highly thought of it at this point.
But I always thought that I liked Jeff Jarrett. Like I say, I was 13 watching this, but I always thought he was a bit of a rip-off Ric Flair with the strut,
yeah,
and the figure 4 leg lock.
But Jeff could throw a drop kick like no other.
Oh, dude, I've got that in my notes. Absolutely, yeah. Jeff Jarrett's drop kick was absolutely phenomenal. Every single time, picture perfect.
Yeah. Before Razor and Kid come out, it's an awkward promo, very awkward. But I think a lot of that's down to production. Kid tries to cut a promo and it just doesn't come off very well.
Wearing a fucking kimono. He's wearing a fucking kimono.
I mean, they're trying to play up his martial arts and stuff, but there are other ways they could have done it. They could have done it with just a well-placed headband.
Yeah.
They didn't have to put him in a Hulk.
He was in a bloody kimono. It was a fantastic kimono. Don't get me wrong.
It's nice. Yeah.
Black silky number, dragons and all that. Brilliant.
Razor comes into the ring and runs right through the photographers at ringside.
Yes.
They are just in the way.
It's an ongoing thing.
It happens all night.
It happens all night
for the show.
It's right. From the first match, as soon as you see Luger and Bulldog walking towards the ring, it's just a sea on all sides of the ring. And I think that, I mean, one of my favourite WrestleMania moments is WrestleMania 11 coming up in the Diesel Shawn Michaels match. It happens a few times and it's absolute gold. But the bloody they get in his way when he's the photographers are in the way when Razor's running in and he goes to slide, through the ring. They're just in his way, and it is an ongoing thing. It's terrible, really.
It's rough, and they're all like, they should have been the other side of the ring or something, or just not there.
Just not there. It was it was absolutely terrible. But I like this match.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. I have a shout out for Razor's punch, which is beautiful.
Excellent.
It's a really good punch. Hall is he's one of the top workers in the world at this point, in my view. Go on. This is an unhappy Scott Hall as well.
It is.
This is an unhappy Scott Hall for reasons I'll talk about later. But this is Scott Hall that isn't that keen on working with Jarrett tonight. But he puts himself in there, and he's again one of even phoning it in, if you would call it that, one of the best workers in the world.
Really good.
Scott Hall.
Because Scott Hall, again, if people know their history, wouldn't be in WWF for that much longer after this as well.
He would put another year in, and that's it. He's gone.
It was May 27th, 1996, that he enters WCW.
In the bash notes.
Yeah, dude. I'm good. It's we like to be thorough on this podcast because we
Very.
love what we do, and we want you to go away and watch this pay-per-view. We don't want to just break it down to the point of where there's no point in you watching it. We want you to go away from this and go, yeah, let's go and watch it now. So yeah, and we like to give
Absolutely.
a bit of background to
We
the
encourage everyone
situation.
to watch it.
Yeah.
I really like the way Jarrett and Hall work together, or Razor. They
Yep.
work together really well. Smooth. It's, you know. Now I'm going to bring on my first controversial point
Go.
of all 3 episodes so far, and there will be one every now and again from me and from you.
Hot takes.
The hot take. I've got this as a hot take.
Right.
This version of Jeff Jarrett would have been a great world champion.
There would be some people that would disagree with you.
I'm sure there would. But this
I'm
version
not
of
one
Jarrett,
yeah.
this version of Jarrett is really technically gifted in the ring, can go. He's clearly hated, like as heel heat, not just hated for being hated's sake. You know, he's got the tools here, and this version of Jarrett is a much better version of the Jarrett that wins a world title in WCW in 99, 2000.
Slap nuts, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, this version of Jarrett is brilliant, and I think if they were going to put a heel as champion, which they eventually don't, it could have been Jeff Jarrett. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, he had the roadie, second generation
He had
superstar.
everything.
He had the charisma. He he worked matches fairly well with the psychology and the angles.
He knew how to get around in the ring, and
he did. He used to throw himself about a bit. The first 5 minutes of this match, he was getting slapped about. He actually leaves the ring with a bloody nose.
He does, yeah.
In this match, but I think that might have been from the 1, 2, 3 Kid's involvement later on in the match, because basically the 1, 2, 3 Kid is there to stop the roadie getting involved, because by this point, the 1, 2, 3 Kid had beaten Razor Ramon on Raw.
93. Yeah, 93.
And gave him one hell of a match on Raw. And Razor respected him after that, and gave him props and whatnot. Yeah, so he was there to stop the roadie getting involved and basically just let them two have a match, because Jeff Jarrett had got the title from Razor previously, correct?
Yes, they've been around. They've been around the circuit quite a bit, facing each other.
Stole it basically in classic heel fashion, and this match doesn't divert much from that as well.
There's a great double punch spot. I really enjoyed it. It worked perfectly in this match.
When they both, bam.
Yeah, I think it's done really well. You don't see it that often.
No.
Not many people can probably pull it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes really well. I have a complaint, is that Razor spends too much time in the figure four.
Okay.
Either you have the finish as it is,
yeah,
or Razor gets out of it quickly. It doesn't make the figure four look tough. And maybe that was the point. Maybe that was a plan, to discredit the figure four at this point.
Right.
Because the figure four is a prominent move used on another show in another company.
Yeah. With another character similar to Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. But I don't know. It just feels like he should have either got out of it quickly, or that's how they finish it. And they don't finish it like that.
No, they do not.
It's a cheap finish for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
A good match that it happens every now and again. A match that people are into, a match that people are enjoying, gets a sloppy finish or something that we don't like.
It's a schmoz, as they call it.
Yeah. Roddy clips the knee. Razor's knee.
So he can't hold him up in the Razor's edge.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Roddy's bumping for Kid.
Oh, it was great.
I thought he went everywhere for 1, 2, 3 Kid's kicks and spin kicks and stuff. I thought it was really good. I really like, those two probably could have worked really well together.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did, but my memories aren't what they used to be. We'll have to rewatch more '95 stuff.
I mean, they're both future D-Generation X members.
Yeah, and Jarrett puts the figure 4 on 1-2-3 Kid, and this is where I think Jarrett gets his bloody nose. I
Right.
think Razor might catch him, or someone else might catch
When
him
he jumps in and starts hammering him, getting him off the Kid.
Jim Ross tells Double J he should be ashamed.
Should be
I'm not
ashamed.
sure.
And you know what's funny? When the Kid gets involved in that, the King turns around and says, "Get that kid out there! He's a delinquent." That just made me laugh. And Jim Ross, yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. And then that prompts one of the greatest lines as well from WrestleMania that stuck in my memory as well, where Jeff Jarrett walking away says, "Payback is a you know what, boy."
You know what?
Yeah, you know, payback is you know what,
Pay-per-view,
boy.
and they still can't say the word.
Yeah. You know, quite an enjoyable match. Not a great finish, but they both work really well together. And Double J walks away with the
champion.
with the championship.
This brings me to the original plan, something that hasn't been spoke of much. It is detailed quite well in, and you'll have to forgive me for bringing it up, James Dixon's Titan Sinking. What a great book that is. It's all about 1995 in World Wrestling Federation, but Scott Hall details that in January, the original plan is for him to turn heel and face The Undertaker. Undertaker faces King Kong Bundy later on in the show, which, in all fairness, is a downgrade for him as well. Scott Hall says that he's really looking forward to it. They've even got vignettes filmed. I wish we could see them, because there's one where The Undertaker pushes Razor into an open grave. And all of that stuff seems like, obviously we always love finding lost footage and watching it, but that looks like it could be a lot of fun. Vince gets cold feet on it and decides to go with Bundy and puts Razor in another match with Jarrett. Doesn't turn him heel. You know, it could eventually cost Scott Hall money here, and could be one of the reasons why he jumps.
I mean, he does end up with the Intercontinental belt again.
He does.
And he also ends up on Jerry Springer.
True, I have seen that clip.
Yeah, when there's like two little kids that have AIDS, and he goes on there as Razor Ramon with the belt, and he gives the belt to one of the kids, and he says, "I'll get another one. You have this," and I'll tell you what, he says one of the great. I mean, you can find this on YouTube if you type in Razor Ramon on Jerry Springer. He says something like,
went crazy, yeah.
He says something about these kids. He says, "Look, you know, you're not a quitter. You're a fighter. If you know you just you don't lose if you never quit," or something like that. And it's just really like, you know, oh, it gets you in your pulls at your heartstrings. So watch that, right? Because this is around that time where obviously he gets the strap back, he goes on Jerry Springer, and then literally within a month he is gone. He's gone. So no wonder he don't give a shit about giving the belt to a little kid.
Yeah. I mean, we've already talked to, like, you know, Razor's not that happy here. He explains himself that he phones in this performance against Jarrett. You wouldn't know it because he's working really well with him, but he's unhappy because he wants that spot with the Undertaker.
Well. Think about what had happened in the previous WrestleMania. The previous WrestleMania, which was WrestleMania 10, him and Shawn absolutely tore the house down with a ladder match. One of the greatest ladder matches in history, if not the best, and probably the first major ladder match in any pay-per-view, really. I know Jake Roberts had some in Canada before,
Brett and Shawn do one on a VHS. So it might be the Smack and Whack on tape.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Brett and Shawn do one in '92, which is really good.
which is probably maybe the idea came from Canada because they did have some in Stu Hart's territory before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they came from.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It never really went really that big. But you can see from Razor's point of view. Look, we tore the house down at WrestleMania 10.
He's ambitious here, yeah. He's
And they
something
did tear. I mean, we'll do WrestleMania 10 at one point, and that was a standout match. I mean, you can't whack that match.
no.
Razor versus Shawn at WrestleMania 10. They're both buddies. And they absolutely tore the fucking house down. Absolutely, so you can see why Razor would want to be
He wants to push
elevated.
on. He wants, and who knows? A heel Razor might have been champion too. Everyone wants to be top dog, and Scott Hall's no different here.
Yeah.
It might feel like a bit of a knockdown to be working with Jeff Jarrett again, but they have a good match, and it's fun for us anyway.
Yeah, it was good. Enjoyed it.
Nicholas Turturro in the green room with Jenny McCarthy
Right.
gets interrupted by Shawn Michaels and my personal favourite, the star of this whole segment.
Yes.
Sid just starts yelling.
You know what? Yeah. Right. This for me is one of the There's also Sid is absolute gold. I'm really sorry, guys, but he's absolute gold. There's a moment when we get to the end of this and we get to the title match, the part of the as you can see from the video cover, the main event was LT and Bam Bam Bigelow, but the title match and the figures of Diesel and Shawn Michaels are bigger. And it should have been the main event, but obviously because of Lawrence Taylor, it was kind of degraded. And I mean, Diesel Shawn Michaels match, we cannot take anything away from that match in this. But there's Sid is Shawn Michaels, obviously his valet, and there's a moment after the Diesel Shawn Michaels match. They have a little interview after the match, and Sid is absolute. He's gold, but we'll get to that. But this segment, Jordan, you are absolutely correct. Sid, this is possibly one of my all-time favourite Sid moments. It has to be.
It's brilliant.
He just, without doing the whole promo, he just... What do you think Diesel's doing right now, Nick? He's sitting there and he's got a fire in his belly. You know what that fire is? Fear. And he says a load of other stuff, and then the final, dude, it's absolutely fantastic. You can see the guys behind him. You've got the $1 million team, because you've got Jenny McCarthy, who is basically there with Nick Turturro, and they're talking about, you've got, who's it, like Karma and other people, and Jenny McCarthy's like, oh no, I don't want them guys, no. And then Shawn Michaels comes in, she's like, oh, but him, oh, I like him. And then he comes in with Sid, and then you can see the guys in the background when Sid's doing this promo, and they're laughing. You've got IRS drinking
absolute gold.
Just proper laughing, because I don't want to spoil this promo, but it's like the way he says a specific line and then he says it again afterwards. There's about a 20-second gap where everyone's like, Jenny McCarthy's face is in absolute shock because he's screaming, and then like Nick Turturro starts saying something else, and then he repeats the line again, like grabs the camera and gets in front and repeats the final line again. It's just
absolute start. We've spoke about Sid already, and we'll continue to talk about Sid because, I mean, the guy is money.
It's gold. This promo alone, he's earned his wages. I don't care. What do you think he's doing right now, Nick? He's sitting there, he's got a fire in his belly. You know what that fire is? Fear. It's absolute gold. Like, I've watched Sid's shoot interviews as well. Really interesting stuff. Just absolute gold, this promo, it's, you know, you think he's going to mess it up, but he kind of does, but kind of doesn't. And then he says the final line again, and just
Oh,
please watch this pay-per-view. Please watch it, guys. Please watch it.
unless there's any Coliseum video, there's our next match, King Kong Bundy. God bless him. What a guy. With Ted DiBiase from the Corporation
Yeah.
against The Undertaker, there's no talks of streaks here. You know, it's another appearance for Undertaker with Paul Bearer. Ted and King Kong Bundy have the urn, which is a big deal at this point.
And the urn, if I may say, it wasn't just the little one that people think of when they think of the Undertaker. It was repossessed by IRS previously. And this thing was absolutely huge. It was like a bloody vase. This thing was massive. It was like the FA Cup. It's massive.
In the midst of all this, we have Todd sitting in the crowd with a Chicago Bear, whose name escapes me right now.
Yeah.
But getting, a prediction out of him.
Getting in the 3-point stance.
Yeah, he gets him in the 3-point stance as well. I'm not sure why. Who was instructing him at this point?
Great stuff.
Was it Kevin Dunn? Was it Bruce Pritchard? Was it someone there just trying to wind him up? I'm not sure. Little note on King Kong Bundy. He ends up parlaying the name Bundy into a TV career. He ends up in Married with Children as one of the Bundy cousins.
No way.
Married with Children, I think it's quite funny anyway. Like, it's probably past its time, but
I swear,
big out of it.
In one of these interviews, no, I'll tell you what, it's in the WCW thing that we look at after this. Bobby the Brain Heenan says someone's got hair like Peg Bundy.
Like Peg Bundy is psychosis.
Yeah, it's psychosis. Because he's got hair like Peg Bundy.
It's crazy. Like, I'm fair play to, Mr. Bundy for getting himself a gig as playing one of these giant, like, cousins of Al.
Yeah.
It's good fun. And we'll move on to the match. Larry Young, a baseball umpire, is a referee. I'm not sure why this is. I'm not really sure how this ties into anything. I think they just wanted him on TV.
It's just another celebrity. They're obsessed at this time with getting people involved. And it would be going forward. They would get more involved in the wrestling aspect of it anyway. Going forward, we had Mike Tyson guest referee and all this kind of stuff. They were just chucking celebrities in willy-nilly. They had one of the kids from frickin' Home Improvement in this one, dude, But he does have a great vignette with Bob Backlund. Very good.
Yeah. Well, this match, I've read about this match quite a bit, and Taker hates it. Bundy will admit that it's not his best work. It feels like they're not really sure where to go with this. Taker gets the urn, place goes nuts, absolutely nuts, for a man getting an urn, getting a vase.
There's a light that comes out of it as well. Where
Ted calls for reinforcements.
Yeah.
Out comes Karma, Big Karma, Charles Wright, Godfather, Papa Shango.
Yeah.
A great character. Great character.
Karma was great. The Extreme Fighting Machine.
Yeah. He would eventually take the urn, and on his way to the back, he tells JR he's going to melt it and turn it into a chain.
The beginnings of The Godfather.
He turns it into a chain. It's again reading on this point from the book from Titan Sinking. Taker and Bundy run out of places to go in this match. There's a lot of clotheslines, a lot of punches, and Bundy just runs out of ideas. And Taker ends up telling him, "Let's just take this home. Let's just finish it."
And I liked the start of this match, and I liked the idea of the Undertaker, the pop for Taker when he comes out, the roof nearly goes off the place. And then Bundy is great because when the lights go down and the Undertaker comes down, when the Undertaker's then in the ring and Bundy's facing him, Bundy doesn't look scared. He's looking at him and he's like, doing his teeth gnashing.
Bundy's a big guy. You shouldn't be afraid of him.
Yeah, and it was great, the build up for it and that, But like you say, it seemed like they just run out of things to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of clotheslines.
Yeah, flying. But old school's great in this, where he hops up on, walks on the ropes and that. Great stuff.
I'm going to say at this point, this version of The Undertaker couldn't tombstone him if he wanted to.
No.
It's a body slam followed by the move of the match, the clothesline, of almost a flying one from The Undertaker off the ropes for the win.
Yeah.
Taker's streak moves on. Ted is cursing Bundy, which would eventually get him kicked out of the corporation.
Yeah.
It's not a great match, but it's fun to see how over Taker is and how lasting his gimmick will be. I mean, it's
at this point
it moves Taker on to Karma, one of another feud for him to try and get his earned chain back.
Well, by this point, Bundy and Undertaker had been both in 4 WrestleManias each.
Yeah. King references that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He says, and this is why he was like a bit of an encyclopedia all through this. He references it. He keeps coming up with things. One highlight for me in this match was the guy dressed as Undertaker in the crowd.
A little bit of cosplay.
Yeah, it was great.
Nicholas Turturro, again, with Nick's working hard tonight. He's got a lot of work here. He's outside Pamela Anderson's dressing room. And this is where he's interrupted by your good friend, Steve Mongo McMichael.
Yeah.
Now, I like these little little comments from each football player saying what they're going to do to each member of the corporation. I think it's just fun. And
because
I can't remember what each of them say
they've all got a guy, don't they?
Yeah, they've all got one guy they picked out and what they're going to do. But obviously, Mongo steals the show because he's a big star.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a big job coming soon in the WCW. We then go to Backlund, Bob Backlund, playing chess with Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
It's great.
The kid wins it.
It's one of the greatest promos in wrestling, I think. The only problem was Nick Turturro going back and forwards with the mic.
He didn't quite have it.
He didn't quite catch all of the answers and the way that they were going back and forth. But yeah, great premise, great promo, and the character of Mr. Bob Backlund, really good, really, really good.
Yeah. The Taylor Thomas wins the chess match. Backlund just starts kicking off at him, saying, this is what's wrong with you kids today, asking him questions which the boy has answers to. And then Backlund calls him a know-it-all.
It's really good. Good stuff.
And again, you were right earlier on. This is, it's Backlund's hometown.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to make him look silly. I mean, they would do quite a lot with someone like JR, but I didn't think they'd do it to Backlund.
It was good where the King says, this is hometown for Bob Backlund. He says, and he's thinking of moving. Listen to this crowd.
Next, it's Owen Hart and his mystery partner.
No. We've got a Coliseum video exclusive.
Oh, see, I'm missing all the good stuff.
It was Gorilla Monsoon Coliseum exclusive with Paul Bearer and The Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
Nice little promo, where The Undertaker says quite a lot. He wasn't a massive talker, but he says quite a lot. Quite good. Quite a good little promo.
You see, this is why you have the VHS tapes, people. You're missing stuff.
Unless they're WCW ones where they cut a load of matches out, but let's not get started on Ted Turner again.
We've both got problems here.
That's right.
It's tag team title time. It's Owen Hart and his mystery partner against the Smoking Guns. And Owen is, Owen's comedy gold at times. He's brilliant on the mic. He can make you laugh even without doing anything, I think, in my opinion. And the surprise partner is Yokozuna. Now, I'm hearing massive cheers. I'm hearing a pop for Yoko.
Yeah.
2-time heavyweight champion. And Yoko is clearly over with the crowd. He's massive. He's absolutely huge here.
But in person, he's absolutely huge here too. Probably the biggest that you would see Yokozuna.
Possibly, yeah.
Size-wise.
Yoko wasn't happy with this. He felt like it was a demotion. But for anyone and everyone that was around it, they said that Owen made Yoko feel like a star and feel like, this wasn't going to be a demotion. They were going to be tag champions. They were going to put everything into it. And again, that's just testament to Owen. That's just how great he was, how he could make anything feel like it was special. And I mean, the Smoking Guns. Where are you on the Smoking Guns?
Not a fan. I thought they they were just a very American gimmick. The moustaches, wasn't a fan. I was a fan when Sonny was involved.
Yeah, that comes later. Yeah.
But other than that, really, I mean, they had some good tag team moves. They had a great side walk slam with the leg drop. Yeah. They were a good team. They used to work together, and I used to like the theme tune, and they come down and shoot in the. It was. They were good.
Vince and King cut away, and the Guns. This is just after Yoko's come out. The Guns still reckon they're going to win. They're surprised that it's Yoko. Jerry Lawler says the bigger the cowboy hat, the smaller the brain.
Yeah, fantastic.
For some reason in this, again, Jerry Lawler's doing this thing, and he's referencing a lot of older stuff that they've done. He references the Blue Blazer.
He does, because he says he says it's fate, McMahon. On this night, 7 years ago or whatever, 9 years ago, was it 7 years ago in 1988 or whatever? 1989, sorry. It's the debut of the Blue Blazer. Yeah, he does reference it. Yeah.
I'm really I don't mind this match. It's good fun. Owen's a great heel. Owen's a brilliant heel here. He's technically brilliant as well, which always catches my eye when there's someone like Jarrett, someone that's just so good in the ring, you just can't take your eyes off it. And that for me is what Owen was doing. Again, my notes have Yoko is huge here. He's massive.
He does a great bump out of the ring in this as well. For a big guy, he does an absolutely great bump outside of the ring where he literally goes flying out in between the middle of the rope and it's absolutely fantastic. They work great as a team. I think Owen Hart and Yoko, they do this drop toe hold, and then Yokozuna does a leg drop on the back of the head. Great stuff.
We get to, talk about the double team moves. There's a double team neck breaker by the Smoking Guns on Owen, which just looks brutal, but it's really well done.
Yeah.
They work well together, Billy and Bart and what have you.
Yep.
But you didn't like the team as such. The gimmick, it's very gimmicky for 95, but there's still more gimmicks to come. it's not the worst of it. Yoko with that massive leg drop on Billy, that could have ended any match. I think you could hear the crowd take a gasp when Yoko's about to drop a leg.
There's some good cheap pops at the beginning where they wave the Japanese flag as well.
They waving the Japanese flag around, trying to get some heat, which is difficult when the people want to cheer for Yoko.
Yeah.
Because he hits Billy with a belly-to-belly suplex, and you can hear the place. They're rumbling for something big that's about to happen, and they're loving Yoko. I'm pretty sure Owen's still got his heel heat here because it's just Owen. He's not going to let him get the better of him. And Yoko drops the bonsai, and it looks just so good. I don't think there's, a way to pull out of a bonsai drop. There's no way to ignore it. It's a 500+ pound man jumping and sitting on someone. And this is where I can't stop laughing. I enjoy this bit really, really well. Like, Yoko tags Owen. Owen threatens to put on the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Looks around, thinks, nah, just pin him. And
I think
it's sneaky heel.
That's because he doesn't want to use the sharpshooter out of spite for his brother. Because for spite for his brother. Because at the beginning of the match he says, "This man did something that I couldn't do, and that's beat my brother Brett." But the thing is, Owen does beat Brett at some point in his career. Brett puts him over in a match.
10, so yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's brilliantly heel of Owen.
Brilliant.
He could stick on the sharpshooter if he wants it, but he's like, fuck it, pin him.
He pins him,
he's done.
It's a great moment. It is a great moment.
Yeah, we've got new tag team champions, and I love this team. I think these two together was brilliant.
They're one of my favourite tag teams of all time, and it seems like they shouldn't be. It seems like they shouldn't go together, and it was another one of these.
It's an odd couple.
It was the odd couple, and it's another one of these tag teams that didn't have a name, but it didn't matter because it was Owen Hart and Yokozuna.
Exactly, they were never going to wear matching outfits.
No. All they had in common was Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette and a hatred of Brett.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
But it worked. And, Jim Cornette's really good as well. Let's not forget what Jim does. Jim's an amazing talker around this time. I always thought Jim added, like, to some teams, not to all teams, because I think, the Heavenly Bodies and all that was a bit hokey. But, yeah, Jim Cornette works really well with Owen, and part of Camp Cornette or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
Because, it's just, eventually they're going to bring in Vader, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's good stuff. Todd, my man Todd, is with Bam Bam, talking about media hype.
Oh, did you not get the bit about the All Access weekend?
No.
Like WrestleMania weekend.
Vince, you're doing it to me again.
He's doing it. So there was a bit on the video where they show about the All Access weekend, and you actually catch a glimpse of Max Payne playing the guitar because he'd gone to WWF at this point after being fired by WCW. He was under the name Man Mountain Rock.
This is it. We talk about Max Payne in only our last episode.
That's right.
And yeah, here he is.
And they gave him the name Man Mountain Rock. He was begging them to be Max Payne again, and they were like, no. But he's there on this All Access weekend. You just catch him. He's wearing like a Dude Love. It looks like the Dude Love t-shirts, the tie-dye ones, with a guitar with the WWF symbol.
It's a cool-looking guitar. I'll give him that.
It's a great, so yeah, that's another bit that I just had to interject that they had on the VHS before the Bam Bam promo, which was absolutely fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, it's Todd with Bam Bam. talking about the media hype for this match, and Bam Bam is gold. He's he's on point with this. He really gets it. Like he knows he's putting in the performance of his life tonight, and he's lapping up every last drop of it. And fair play to him.
He says what we're all thinking as well. He says, as a guy going to come in and not into my world, this is Bam Bam's world. You're not going to come into Bam Bam's world and make me look stupid. He said, you know what I mean? And then even the King says after this, he said, a guy's basically coming in off the street. And then Vince goes, off the street? And he's like, well, off the gridiron, whatever. And it's a valid point, a valid point, really.
It's now time for the I Quit match. Bret Hart and Bob Backlund. Bret, and Bob have a feud from late '94 where Backlund takes the belt from Bret at Survivor Series. They need to finish this feud. It probably should have finished before this, but they get to an I Quit match at WrestleMania. Special referee, which for some reason they didn't announce before the show.
No.
I think that's crazy. It would have probably got more in, but they, it's a surprise special referee. Rowdy Roddy Piper. The place goes mental.
Mm-hmm.
It is a massive pop for Piper. It comes out. Now, this bit I like because it's no fucks given. He just tells the photographers, move.
Yeah.
He walks to the ring, just says, get out the way. And they do. They move. Piper's a legend. You do what he tells you. Because I'm sure if one of them didn't, they were going to get it.
And but basically, you've got Vince McMahon saying, saying to the King, do you remember him? Do you remember Piper? And he goes, oh, I remember him, McMahon. I can't stand him. He's like, how he managed to cheat loads of people. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, he made everyone think he was that great and he wasn't. I don't know if it was genuine heat or if it was just
Well, they had a feud, possibly, didn't they? Those two, maybe the year before. It could be King delivering off some real heat. Who knows?
Because King also comes out with the point that Bret the Hitman Hart had a match at WrestleMania 8 with Piper.
My take on this: Bret's the biggest star in the company at the time. Can you change my mind?
I mean, he is one of the biggest stars there. I think Shawn Michaels is up there.
Yeah.
With him. And like I say, this is Hogan's not around anymore. The Warrior's not around no more. They'd lost a few guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Bret. No, I will agree. Bret was the pop for Bret the Hitman Hart when he came out. I've got Bret Hart pop in capitals, exclamation. It was, the roof goes off.
The minute this match started and Piper got hold of that microphone, this match was dead.
Yeah.
It was done for because it became comedy.
Yeah, it was. It was like he even asked, Bret's got Backlund in a hold, and he asked Backlund, and then he asked Bret straight away after.
What do you say? Bret in his book, it's a great book, says, mate, to the point that like this is one of his worst matches.
Really?
He hates it, and it must be difficult for Bret. Bret is a perfectionist in the ring most of the time at this point, and I mean this match it falls apart with the whole microphone in the face thing and Piper shouting, "What do you say?" Because you can hear the fans laughing.
Yeah.
And that's not Bret's style. Bret's not comedy. very serious about his work. And I noticed that King is still mocking Stu after all these years.
Oh, it's fantastic.
He's not letting up.
No.
It's a shame because it's a Bret Hart match at a WrestleMania, and I've not got a lot of notes on it.
It is is it the Owen match where he says he says, oh, Owen's smarter than his brother Bret. Bret still thinks old Yeller's a story about Stu Hart's tooth. and then the King says something in this match about, yeah, Stu Hart's been wrestling so long. I went to Egypt and saw a hieroglyph of Stu Hart with King Tut in a headlock.
Yeah. He's still gunning for Stu at this point, and
it's so good.
It's kind of sad that it's part of the highlights of the match.
Yeah.
But and something I noticed, I mean, because this match it's not something to write home about. It's not something you can really stay that positive about, apart from the King and stuff. It's that Backlund doesn't give up in the chicken wing.
Yeah, he doesn't say I quit.
He doesn't say I quit.
No, he doesn't say I quit. It's one of the more baffling things that I've ever seen in this.
It's an I quit match.
Yeah.
And yeah, Piper just sort of calls for the bell, which doesn't make any sense. And I've got in the notes, I don't like to say it this much, horrible match. Bret hates it, so do I. That's it.
Did you catch the bit of the beginning of the match where Bret Hart's walking towards the ring and he's high-fiving people, and he high-fives someone and they slap his hand really hard and he goes, fuck, like that. And he yeah, like if you catch it, watch him walking and he high-fives someone so hard and slaps his hand, he goes, oh fuck, like that. And he's like, when he's walking into the ring, like, that for me, I clocked it as well.
I have that Bob Backlund saw the light after the match.
Oh, it's great.
Jim Ross.
But the thing is as well, JR says to him, "You said I quit, Bob. You said I quit," and I'm like, yeah. He didn't say I quit.
He didn't say it. I mean, it must have been a cock up or a mistake somewhere. Whether it was Backlund himself for not saying it or Piper for.
It was Piper. I think Piper, because I mean, one of my favourite moves in wrestling is the crossface chicken wing. I love the move, absolutely fantastic. And I thought, the fact that when they were trying to do it and Backlund had it on Bret and he was trying to get him down, and then Bret done it and then he put his foot on, back of the knee to get him down and all that. Yeah. It was good, that bit, but
the best part of the story of the match, yeah.
Yeah, but he never said I quit. And I think the only thing that Backlund was going to be going, no, and then after he was going to say I quit, and then he was going to do it. I think it was Piper's fault. I mean, sorry, Roddy. You're the one that called it, right? Yeah.
We move on. Nicholas Turturro, bless him, he's still working. He's rocking it tonight. Can't find Pamela Anderson.
No.
And that's the only bit I got from that. And we go back to Todd, our man Todd, who's also grafting tonight. He's with Diesel.
Well, you've got a bit of that where Nicholas, where the King says, yeah, because Turturro goes, yeah, I can't find Pammy, we can't find him, sorry. If we, at this point, we don't know where she is. And then the King says, all I know is, McMahon, the last thing I heard, Shawn Michaels was trying to get her to get a tattoo. Something.
Todd is with Diesel. Diesel, it looks like he messes up.
He does, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
He just starts shouting.
Yeah.
And I feel for him because it's live, pal.
Yeah.
And Diesel he messes up his lines just enough to realise that he's done it and just starts shouting. And the promo is just sort of goes all over the place.
He accidentally says, something about conceding the title or something, and then he says
Yeah.
conceding well, I just need to keep hold of this belt. Like he just kind of loses it a little bit. Yeah, I clocked that as well.
It's part one of our double. I'm calling it a double main event because it's a championship match.
Yeah,
It's part one of our double main event, and
it is a double main event.
it's the match that probably should have gone on last. And Diesel and Sean lobbied for it. They wanted it on last, and Vince just wouldn't give in. He decided that the other match was going on last, which is always, the championship match is the main event, except for, I'm guessing, Rock and Cena went on last when they weren't the main. It wasn't a championship involved, but this went on last, and this one doesn't go on last. Sorry, and it's got everything. It's got everything that, to the point where it should have been the main event. Timekeeper, ring announcer, all of this stuff.
I fully believe, I fully believe this is Diesel, aka Kevin Nash's greatest match he's ever been in.
Really?
Yep. Name another match that Diesel has been in where he has done more than his 11 move set in.
I'm gonna pick one out. I'm gonna say Survivor Series '95 with Brett.
Right. All right. Well, that also is a great match, but the fact that Diesel and Sean are friends and they worked, both of them. I mean, Sean worked his arse off this match. He absolutely worked his arse off. Diesel worked his arse off this match. It was really, really good from both guys. It went on quite a long time. It was a fairly long match, but like you say, it should have gone on last. It had the guest timekeeper, it had the guest announcer, it had two supposed valets of the chicks. It had everything.
Well, this is it. We have our special guest timekeeper, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and this is where he gets his pop, his big moment.
Yeah.
We have our special guest ring announcer, Nicholas Turturro, who's been working all night. He must be tired, but we get a cheap pop from Nick.
Yeah.
I love it. It's what the show's named after, and we get a cheap pop from Nicholas Turturro. Well done, Nick. He snuck it in there.
Snuck it in. We also get a great comment from the King, who says to Vince McMahon when Jonathan Taylor Thomas comes out, he goes, "How old is this kid anyway?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know. He's about 13. He goes, "Yeah, well, that tuxedo makes him look 10 years stupider."
Yeah. King's just reeling him off all night. Yep. He's not going to stop. Shawn Michaels with Sid and Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a thing there. He's meant to be coming out with Pamela Anderson. He ends up walking out with Jenny McCarthy. And then Diesel comes out with Pamela Anderson, which makes Michaels all hot and bothered and out of sorts.
Huge pop as well.
Yeah, big pop. Again, it says here in my notes, bone of contention that this isn't the main event, but I'm going to try and get past that. Now, Diesel, Nash has admitted that Shawn Michaels is trying to upstage him here. Even though they're friends, even though they're in the clique, which is a thing.
He's overselling hard.
He says that Michaels is trying to upstage him and blow him up by running rings around him quickly.
Yeah.
And you see that until Nash throws him a forearm shot, which is just a little bit heavier than it should be.
Yeah.
Michaels sells it like an absolute genius in the ring, which he is. He's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
But it's just a shot to let Shawn know to slow down. I'm not ready to kick this up a notch. And, Michaels was known for that. He was known for running around, trying to blow people up, trying to upstage, trying to be, the star show. This is 1990 Shawn Michaels, which isn't everybody's favorite version of him, wrestlers in particular. Fans loved him. We love Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
But this is Shawn being a prick.
Well, in this match as well, I would assume that Shawn is calling the match, or they've obviously got some agreed thing that is going to go on. But I would assume that Shawn Michaels is calling the match. Now, when, you know, Shawn Michaels is dumped over pre-match, this is before the bell's even gone off,
Yeah.
right? Diesel comes in the ring and Shawn's in there, and basically Diesel dumps him out of the ring and he lands on top of the photographers before the match has even started. And this begins the it should have been a three-way dance with Diesel versus Shawn Michaels versus the photographers, because
Yeah, it's a running theme in this match.
it is, and I honestly believe as soon as the first thing happens, where Shawn Michaels basically they get in his way, you know, and he drags a photographer out literally up the bloody aisle. He keeps calling spots where they end up being thrown on top of them, or
Yeah,
Diesel getting
other
chucked out. He
photographers,
does it
yeah.
about 4 or 5 times where he's calling spots where they have to basically get chucked on the photographers. It happens multiple times.
I mean, I've got here after the elbow from, or the forearm from Nash, I've got here just in big letters. Sid is intense.
He's great.
On the hard camera, just pounding the ring, shouting and screaming at everything.
Do you hear the Sid chants?
Brilliant. It's just, sometimes it almost you can't take your eyes off what Sid's doing.
You can hear the chants in the crowd.
Yeah, I've got that as well. There's chants for Sid, and he turn around and tell him to shut up.
Yeah, he does. That's the thing. And there's a sign right behind him. It just says "Psycho Sid rules."
Yeah. He's accidentally, because this is no fault of his own, he's accidentally stealing a part of this show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just, you don't know where to go from it, because you're concentrated on these fans like this, chanting for Sid when Michaels and Diesel were doing their best to go for it. There is a spot where Shawn Michaels starts shoving photographers out the way so that Diesel can elbow the post.
Yes.
The ring post. Like,
yes.
Why are they there? We've already spoke about it, but
they ruin this match a little bit. Well, they don't, because they add to it, because you've got Shawn does an absolute. The first time it happens, yeah, and Shawn gets pissed off, is basically Diesel Irish whips him into the corner, and he does like the Ric Flair corner bump, but he like goes up and out, and he lands on the guy in the corner, and then he just gets literally enraged, and he drags him up the aisle out the way, and then that's when he keeps calling spots. Where Diesel gets clotheslined over and lands on him. Then Shawn does like a crossbody outside, and Shawn grabs another photographer, pulls him out of the way, and that's so then Diesel could do his ribs on the post.
I've got here now. I'm not sure. Like, this can go either way on Shawn, because it's 1995. Either Shawn is playing the role really well of looking absolutely fucked, or he's had a bit of a heavy night.
Well, Diesel lays outside for ages at this point, with the rib shot. Diesel's lying outside, and I don't know. Like you say, there is something going on with Shawn running all around him, and I think Diesel is lying outside, maybe to call HBK off a little bit, because he was kept calling spots where they could land on the photographers, and I think Diesel was.
I've got here that HBK looks absolutely zapped.
Yeah.
And like I said, it could have been 95. It's party time for Shawn, or it could be just that he's just playing it really well. And I would accept either answer.
It's one. I think Diesel's giving him time to chill out.
The pace of this match just slows right down.
Yeah.
And it's noticeable, because Nash can't go that quickly as long as Shawn can, and Shawn, I think, runs himself out. He runs himself into the ground a little bit, but he still pulls off that really wonderful flying elbow.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
One of the best. It's not the best, in my opinion. That that honor is always going to be reserved for Macho Man Randy Savage. or to a lesser, not even to a lesser extent, my second best one is Kairi Sane at the moment. She does the most beautiful, insane elbow from the top rope. It's really class. Go check it out if you haven't, seen her do it on NXT or on possibly Raw or SmackDown. I'm not sure what show she's on at the minute. I've got here in the notes, and this is down to you on this one. I've always felt that Kevin Nash is incredibly likable, but Diesel is not. I didn't quite get Diesel as a character, still don't. But Kevin Nash is hilarious.
Vinny
He's
Vegas
brilliant.
is great.
In Vegas too, yeah. Not so much Oz. We'll leave Oz out of the contention here.
No, Diesel. Kevin Nash is extremely likable. He's got a good character. The promo before this match shows that he's got a lot of charisma.
Yeah.
If he was just going to be himself,
I always felt we got more out of a heel Diesel than a babyface Diesel. I always felt like Diesel as a heel just worked.
Yeah, I think the crowd liked him too much, though.
Oh yeah, it all goes back to the '94 Rumble, where he throws out like 8 or 9 guys, and like you can just hear like the reaction's just incredible. He's just, that's where they figure out that he's probably going to be a champion at some point. But we move on. There's Shawn Michaels gets his ass out.
Yeah,
because why not?
In the obligatory Shawn Michaels butt flash, where Diesel's grabbing the back of his trousers and giving him some back shots, and then he actually grabs the front of his trousers as well. So you might have saw some dick root.
Nobody wants to see that.
No one needs to see Shawn Michaels' dick root.
Sweet Chin Music. He hits it, but for some reason Hebner's twisted his ankle.
It was Sid's fault. It was Sid's fault. Something happens where it's Sid's fault that he does his ankle in, and then Sid picks him up and tries to throw him back in.
Yeah, it just looked hokey to me. Earl Hebner, bless him, is what he is. He'll always be the guy that screwed Brett.
And the guy that was selling dodgy shirts.
Yeah. Selling messed up shirts, so cheap shirts from, from the WWF or WWE, warehouse.
That's right.
Sid exposes a turnbuckle, which, I mean, it would have been a great spot had they not messed it up.
No, so is that what you're talking about, the slingshot, and then instead he goes on the middle?
Yeah.
I thought that was great because your heart's in your mouth, thinking,
he misses. They're too far away. It's almost like maybe a foot short or something, but they just missed that spot. And I'm guessing that would have led into the jackknife a lot.
The worst jackknife you've ever seen.
What I've got sloppy jackknife for the win.
It's terrible.
Oh man, I'm glad we've met on this because it's rubbish.
It's horrible. It's not even a jackknife. He barely. Yeah. It's like he gets him up, but then just literally flops down. I think Diesel's just blown up at this point.
Maybe it could be that he's blown up, or it could be just that he's sick of it. It's not. It's the jackknife is a brilliant power bomb, but it doesn't work on this one. And
do you reckon it was Shawn? Do you reckon it was Shawn that didn't?
No, I don't think so.
Be interesting to try and get some info about this one because it was. I've got worst jackknife ever just written on my.
I've got sloppy jackknife for the win.
Awful.
Diesel celebrates with the celebrities, and Vince calls him the leader of the new generation.
Indeed.
Which is their youth movement against the WCW and their older guys.
Because they've got the new generation symbol.
Yeah.
which is they've got around this time, but they only used it for a few years. But um, just quickly, I've got Diesel was only in WWF really for 3 years maximum. You know, and he had a run in with Taker. You know, his last WrestleMania was WrestleMania 12. You know, and he had the In Your
He had
House.
big programs, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and he was like, I'm not afraid of the dark, because he cost the Undertaker. You know, he came in and got involved, didn't he? When the
Yeah.
Undertaker was against Bret Hart, I think.
And then take it back to him, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, and he's walking down the aisle, like, I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of the dark, you know. So, but Diesel did a hell of a lot in WWF for the 3 years he was there.
Again, yeah, he up sticks with Scott Hall or Razor, and they go and make some history somewhere else.
Yeah.
I've got Todd with HBK being held up by Sid, and Sid is complaining. Sid's angry.
Yeah, but he's Sid. If you watch, right, Sid is mouthing the words that Sean is saying. If you watch closely, and it's slightly annoying. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you've got, you've just got Psycho Sid mouthing the words that Shawn Michaels is saying in his promo, but then he brings it back, and you know, he's saying, look, this man is not finished with you. He's like, you know, the best part of the promo is like he has to pay the severe price when he does that. Like, it's just
I can't remember how long this feud goes on for, because in 1995 I was 8, so for the life of me, I can't remember how long this feud carries on, because I know that Sid and Shawn eventually split and go their ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, surely at this point Vince knows that Sid is going to be a big player, because he's almost stolen the show, almost.
But I mean, Vince knows though. Vince knows that the people love Sid because of what happened with Hogan and Sid.
He's just, he's a star, and we'll keep saying it until someone begs us to stop on Twitter or something. Even then, we'll carry on. Is there any Coliseum video bits before this next bit?
No, you've got the Sid and HBK thing, and then we're straight into the second half of the main event.
I've got the Corporation making their entrance.
Yes.
Which is King Kong Bundy, Tatanka, Nikolai Volkov.
With the cents instead of the dollars.
Jacket, on his top. I'm not sure what that's about. IRS and Ted DiBiase.
Yep.
And out come the NFL team. I don't know their positions. I do like the NFL, but you know, again, 1995 is a little bit before my time. I do know some of the guys who are coming out, but we've got Ken Norton, Chris Spielman, Ricky Jackson, Carl Banks, my man Mongo.
Yeah.
Go Mongo. And Reggie White, who, you know, again, big names in the NFL, but I mean, I am an NFL watcher. Go Patriots. Are you an NFL watcher, Chris?
No. London Monarchs, mate.
London Monarchs. Wow. There's a shout out if I ever heard one. And we get to Bam Bam and LT. And this is, I mean, something you notice is Pat Patterson is the referee, which is understandable. Pat's probably calling the match.
Yes.
Trying to help LT as much as he can.
Apparently Diesel trained LT.
Did he?
Story.
I didn't know that. LT chants. Big LT chants. Like in this, like, now where did I miss Salt and Pepper? Because they don't appear on the network.
To be honest, they from what I remember watching the event originally, they sing "What a Man,"
Okay.
but then I think they do another song when LT's coming down, because you've got the All Pro team with the
Yeah, the classic sort of American football
yeah.
sports thing. Yeah.
And then LT comes down in a fantastic looking tracksuit. Oh,
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
beautiful.
It's a shell suit like no other.
Great stuff.
Um, I've got a point here to make because I've seen a lot of stuff with Pat Patterson involved, like him on the mic and that. I would I would struggle to understand Pat. He's got that sort of thick French Canadian accent,
Yeah.
and him calling a match when you're blowing up as bad as LT, you'd be looking at him going, "What are you saying?" It would drive you crazy.
I think, if I'm honest, he was just there. I don't know if he was calling it. I would imagine, okay, that Bam Bam and LT had probably practiced this match
Oh, sure.
a few times, but I think you'll know, as I do, we've been wrestlers, we've been in the ring, we've wrestled. When you're in the ring,
It's
one of the
different.
things we were told when we were training is, if you think you're going too slow, go slower.
Slow down.
Right?
Yeah.
Innit? If you think you're going too slow, go slower. Do everything slow and methodical. Even when you're doing your fast spots, do them slowly. Because when you rush things, and you do things quickly, you don't have time to sell, you don't have time to do anything, right? So LT, I think Bam Bam had to catch him with a few. I think he hit him with a few stiff shots as well, because
Just to
just to
remind him
say,
he's there.
and you
Yeah.
can see him putting their heads together, and Bam Bam hitting him with a few headbutts and saying to him, "Look, fucking slow down, dude, or
But
stay down."
I'm also sure that Bam Bam's saying, "Lay it on me.
Huh?
Let's make." I'm also he's saying, "Look, let's have it. Let's throw what you can at me.
Right.
Let's make it look as good as we can."
Yep.
And that's like I said, this is Bam Bam's biggest night. His main event in WrestleMania. He's not going to want anything to look, pulled or hokey or sloppy.
He got hit hard. He got
Yeah.
hit from the first slap,
The first slap, I've got that there, the slap from LT.
mate. The first slap, then an elbow, then a stiff knee. Those three shots were just stiff as a board, and then he's out of the ring, and he's with the rest of DiBiase's team and all that.
Like, Bam Bam will bump like crazy to get this one over.
Yeah,
And it's beautiful. There's a nice bulldog from LT that Bam Bam takes,
yeah.
and sells it off. But it all comes to a screeching halt because LT is blown up.
He's basically
LT,
lying on the floor at Bam
yeah,
Bam's feet at one point, because it starts off okay with LT coming on strong, but then there's a really nice bit where Bam Bam looks in control, as he should be. He's
yeah.
kicking him while he's down. He's doing headbutts.
The good headbutts, yeah, brilliant.
He's absolute gold, and he looks really in control, and he's looking around, and he's playing the crowd, and it's just fantastic to watch. But then, yeah, I mean, LT, anyone who's wrestled will know, being in a ring for even 5 or 10 minutes, you feel like you've been in there for a flipping hour, man. It is.
Yeah. It does make you wonder how some of these guys could do these Iron Man matches and stuff.
Oh,
You've got
dude.
the best of shape to do it, and you will blow up in a ring
I've
quickly.
thrown up, dude, many times wrestling, and that was for 10, 15 minutes going. I mean, even we found some footage has emerged recently of JB and our other buddy, Matty Diamond Dennis. Shout out to you, Matthew.
I need to quickly jump in on Matt Diamond Dennis. Last night, in my tired absolute like out of nowhere state. I posed a question to him. I said, I got a random question for you. And he said, go for it. I said, why was it Matt Diamond Dennis? Like all the names we were thinking of, why did no one ever come up with Cactus Matt? Like we could have had him on Wanted Dead or Alive posters, on a t-shirt, everything. Cactus Matt.
That's a good one, man.
He said, he texted me back and said, fuck me, that is random. But yeah, you found some footage.
We
What have you
found
found?
some footage of you and Matty double teaming me in a ring in Romford.
Oh, at Len's
At
place.
Len's place. Shout out to Len Davis. Real quality wrestling. See, like I say, we've been around. We've met people. You know, Matty showed me pictures of you guys with. You know, you showed me pictures of you and AJ Styles when they were over here. You know,
Yeah, way
so
back. I was 17.
you know we've been in the inner bowels of the around people in the wrestling business, you know, and we've trained in that for a bit. We've been in the ring, and you know, even taking a few double team moves. There was one where you guys were, you know, you were throwing me off the ropes, doing a double hip toss, and then doing the double elbow drop.
Oh,
um I'll show you
where
the
did you
footage, dude.
find
Yeah,
this?
I got it off Matty. He sent me a random email with it in. But
Fantastic.
and basically even he said, "Bless ya, you took it until you couldn't take no more." And it was like we were only doing a few spots here and there and all that, but you know, taking moves and taking bumps and you know even selling shots that you know it. You, it's tiring, man. It's like you're constantly moving and acting and doing this and you know there's never a moment really where you can catch a breath. um and I 100% I don't disrespect LT for being blown
But
up, you know, but the guy was fucked. He by the end of the match he couldn't even hold his arms up. He couldn't even stand.
it was, yeah, it says here, I've got here, he was gassed. It, and I'm guessing that's part of the reason why he probably couldn't pull any punches. He just had to throw them in there, like, and you know, he was exhausted.
Yeah.
But you know, LT kicks out of a flying headbutt. I mean, he's being given a lot here.
He jackknifes Bam Bam at one point.
It's
And this is where
crazy.
they keep selling it. Yeah, it wasn't really a jackknife. It was like actually it was probably better than Diesel's jackknife on freaking Shawn Michaels, to be honest. But it was you know, he just kind of lifts him up and then drops him kind of thing. And it's like the commentators both they say, "Oh, we know where he learned that from," and then the King goes, "Yeah, he picked it up from Diesel. We know," because they were training. I think there was some footage where LT was being trained by Diesel because he was the champion and all that, and you know he was helping him with a few moves and training bits. But yeah, I mean, LT was, you know, and he's a professional athlete as well, dude.
Yeah,
You know,
he is a Super Bowl winner. He's
you know,
a
so
big American athlete in in the NFL, which these guys aren't. They're not small. They're big big time players.
wrestling ain't no joke, baby.
No. Yeah, LT kicks out of the headbutt, the flying headbutt, and he hits it's a pretty big flying forearm, but it's a tie into American football. It's a big sort of running, jumping, tackling type of move,
Yeah.
and it's a flying forearm for the win. Bam Bam does the job
He
for
does.
for
He
the
does
new guy.
two in a row. I think he does two in a row, and then flying forearm smashes, and they look brutal. They look absolutely brutal.
And it's a big win. Like it's his first. It's not his first venture into the ring, which is a bit strange. Like he does do a tiny bit of work for WCW in. I've got to say, I'm thinking in '91, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to look that up myself. LT does a bit of wrestling. He gets, whether or not he gets in the ring or not, I'm not sure. But it's not his first work with a wrestling company, and it's he gets dropped into the main event of WrestleMania. It's
What do you reckon?
crazy for a first timer.
You reckon the payoff was pretty big for Bam Bam on this one?
I would hope so. I mean, I know LT's payoff was probably pretty big, but Bam Bam's had to. His main event, it's where the selling point was. He had to. I would say probably the biggest check of his career. You couldn't, WrestleMania main events are where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania shows in general where the money are. So why wouldn't he take home a big? I mean, could it be seven figures? Doubtful.
Mm.
Because it wasn't a well received WrestleMania. Didn't make a lot of money, but he would have got paid.
He could have got. I mean, I don't know how much Hogan was getting paid for those big main events, but you'd like to think that for this one, Bam Bam got a nice bag for it.
Oh, absolutely. He worked his socks off, and that's it's difficult to sort of pick up because again, this WrestleMania doesn't get highly spoken of.
Although like I said earlier, it doesn't get highly spoken of, but I thought it was actually not a bad WrestleMania at all. Maybe that's my nostalgia as a 13-year-old kid watching it, but even now I watched it and it was good. I enjoyed it still.
You said yourself it's one of Diesel's biggest nights. Razor and Jarrett go really well together.
Yeah.
And you've got the Owen and Yoko,
Yep.
tag team on. There's some payoffs from this, and there's some good stuff.
Good promos, good
vignettes.
vignettes.
We'll stay positive whenever we can.
Yeah, man. Good event. Strong event.
It is weird to see that there's no sign off from this pay per view. It just sort of cuts off. You've got LT almost dying in the ring.
He's almost dying
by his pals. And yeah, there's no sign off from Vince and the King. No, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Anything like that. It was just that was it. Gone.
Do you think that's because they run over time and before they went home on the match?
Not sure. I can't. The tape isn't long enough to beat the 3 hour mark, is it? I mean.
Yeah, I just don't know. Maybe with the pay per view, they had like a time where they had to,
Yeah, it could well be that they just had to cut it off. But yeah, it was kind of strange not seeing a sign off from Vince and the King or anyone, or even Todd or JR or.
Yeah, it's true. It was just LT literally being held up. By other humans. By the humanoids. By humanoids. Yeah, it was he was struggling, mate. It was really strange. Like you say, there was no sign off. There was no, thanks for joining us here at WrestleMania. LT victorious, blah blah blah. And you also see Bam Bam Bigelow getting torn a new one by Ted DiBiase walking out. He's like, he's a football player. He's a football player. What's going on?
Like I said, we enjoyed this. We enjoyed watching this, and we'll obviously enjoy talking about it. If you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it a long time, go back and watch it. Go back and see all those funny bits that we saw. We couldn't talk about this one enough. We knew this one was going to be a long one.
Yeah, we've hit the 2 hour mark on this one, but we had a free for all half an hour. We've had some good matches and some good moments and some good background as well, because this is the time. This is when a few people start going over to WCW and things start to shift from WWF being
in our next episode.
Yes.
We have already agreed. Sometimes we don't always agree straight away on which show we're going to watch next, but we have decided it's going to be Bash at the Beach '96. it's historical.
It is
We won't spoil it. It's historical and it's amazing.
a moment that changed wrestling.
It changes. It sends careers off to the moon. It really does, and I'm enjoying rewatching it right now. I haven't finished it yet, but it's it's already blowing my mind.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm guessing that's it.
that's it, dude. We have
That's WrestleMania 11.
we're covered. WrestleMania 11. Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast. Get us on. Yeah, dude, he's got the merch. We've got the hoodies. Chat Grapple and Cheap Pops podcast on YouTube. At Chat Grapple Pops on Twitter.
Are you going to do the like and subscribe thing again?
Like and subscribe, baby. Jordan has been working extremely hard on Twitter. We've got a load of new followers, and thank you for everybody who's following us on there. If we could translate those followers on Twitter onto YouTube, that would be fantastic. If you give us a follow on Twitter, if you could come and subscribe to the YouTube, that would be absolutely phenomenal. And we're just enjoying what we're doing. This is episode 3 out the way. As JB said, we have already agreed. The next episode will be Bash at the Beach 96, a moment that changed wrestling history. And that will be coming very, very soon. So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one. JB, thank you for joining me on this one. It's been a pleasure to join you again.
It's been brilliant.
Grapple and Cheap
I've
Pops,
really enjoyed
baby.
this. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We will see you with Bash at the Beach 96. Go sign up.
Yeah, man.
Keep watching.
That's it. Yep. Join us up
Okay,
on Twitter, on the YouTube. Bye from me. Bye from JB. Peace out, people.